Now, on behalf of all the revered monks present here and the devotees, I request Most Revered Srimad Swami Vagishananji Maharaj to kindly deliver the benedictory address.
Dear Balabhadranandji Maharaj, dear Sarvalokanandaji Maharaj, dear Atmasadhanandaji Maharaj, dear Atmaprabhanandaji Maharaj, and so many sadhus and brahmacharis, I extend my love and best wishes, and to devotees, I pray to God for their welfare. We have assembled here to celebrate the closing phase of centenary celebration of Bhubaneswar Math. It is more than 100 years back, revered Swami Brahmanandaji Maharaj, the then president of Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission, came to Bhubaneswar and was attracted by the sylvan and serene environment with century-old hundreds of temples of exquisite architecture. Also felt an underlying current of spirituality here. He was highly impressed by the spiritual ambience of the place and wished to establish a center here. This idea took shape in the year 1917-18. The construction work of which was done under the supervision of revered Swami Shankaranandaji Maharaj, who subsequently became the 7th president of the Ramakrishna Order. Since then, this center is carrying on their activities both internally and externally in conformity with the motto of the Sangha. Today is the birth Tithi Puja of Raja Maharaj. We have listened from the morning about his life and teaching and holy memories. Now I repeat and say a few words about Raja Maharaj. Once Sri Ramakrishna prayed to the Divine Mother, bracket, inverted comma, Mother, I want someone to be my constant companion. Bring me a boy who is pure-hearted and intensely devoted to you, quote, unquote. A few days later, he saw a mystic vision, a boy standing under the banyan tree in the temple grounds. On another occasion, the same boy appeared to him in a different manner. To quote the master's own word, a few days before, Rakhal came to me, Mother placed a little boy on my lap and said, "This is your son." At first, I was startled. My son? Mother smiled at that time and made me understand that I was not to have a son in the ordinary sense, but that this boy would be my spiritual son, one who would live up to the highest ideal of renunciation. From this hour onward, the Ramakrishna waited eagerly for the coming of the spiritual son. A few moments before, Rakhal actually arrived. He actually arrived and suddenly he saw 100-petal lotus blooming on the blossom on the Ganges, each of the petals shining with exquisite loveliness. On the lotus, two boys were dancing with anklets on their feet. One of them was Sri Krishna himself, and another was the same boy he had seen in his earlier vision. Their dance was indescribably beautiful. Every movement they made seemed to flash foam, as it were, from the ocean of sweetness. Sri Ramakrishna was lost in ecstasy. Just then, a boat arrived carrying Manmohan and Rakhal. Sri Ramakrishna looked at Rakhal in bewilderment. What is this? He thought into himself, here is the boy I saw standing under the banyan tree. Here is the boy mother placed on my lap. Here is the boy I saw just now dancing on the lotus with Sri Krishna. This is the pure-hearted companion I prayed for the mother. Rakhal's visit to the master became more and more frequent. Sometimes he lived in the temple for days together. While he was there, his mind entirely forgot the everyday world and became absorbed in the consciousness of God and His presence. He felt himself to be the internal companion of his divine master. Rakhal was a carefree mind, devoted himself to a contemplative life and the service of the beloved Guru. One day, Rakhal told Sri Ramakrishna that he felt very hungry, but there was no food in the place. Sri Ramakrishna became greatly concerned. Leaving his room, he went to the bank of Ganges and shouted, "Oh Gauri Dashi, come soon, my Rakhal is hungry." Shortly after this, Gauri Dashi, a woman disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, arrived by boat with a few other disciples, bringing food. Sri Ramakrishna was happy as the child has called Rakhal, saying, "Here is the food, now go and eat. You are very hungry." Rakhal felt embarrassed and said in a low voice, "Yes, I am hungry, but do you have to advertise it?" Sri Ramakrishna innocently replied, "If you are hungry, what is wrong in saying so? Go and eat now." Once, while Rakhal was messaging Sri Ramakrishna with oil, he begged the master to grant him the power of transcendental vision. At first, Sri Ramakrishna took no notice of that request and remained silent. When Rakhal persisted, Sri Ramakrishna suddenly turned and spoke to him with harshly. Rakhal felt hurt and angry and smashed the bottle of oil on the ground and ran away. But as he reached the gate of the temple, his feet suddenly seemed paralyzed. He could not move another step. Helplessly, he sat down on the road, not knowing what to do. Meanwhile, Sri Ramakrishna sent his nephew Ramlal to find Rakhal and calm his anger. Ramlal fetched Rakhal, who slowly returned to the master's presence. Sri Ramakrishna looked at him smilingly. "You see, he could not go outside the circle I drew around you." Rakhal felt ashamed and remained silent. A few moments later, Sri Ramakrishna went into ecstasy and began to speak to the Divine Mother. "Oh Mother," he murmured, "I know you have given him 1/16th part of your power, and that power and will benefit all mankind." Then, in the same ecstatic mood, he addressed Rakhal, saying, "You were angry with me. Do you know why I made you angry? There was a purpose in it. Medicine acts only the sore becomes open." He continued, "Have faith that God is also with form and can be seen in that way. God is revealed to the man who has controlled his mind." Naren Vivekananda met Sri Ramakrishna about 6 months after Rakhal's arrival, Rakhal and Noren were happy to be together again at the feet of their master. But one day, Noren was shocked when he saw Rakhal follow Sri Ramakrishna into the temple of Mother Kali and prostrate before the image. He remembered how Rakhal had signed the pledge of the Brahma Samaj, promising not to worship images or forms of God. At first opportunity, Noren reminded Rakhal of his promise and reproached him bitterly for indulging in image worship. Rakhal was silent. How could he ever make Noren understand what he had experienced through the Master's grace? Yet he could not argue the matter. So for a few days, Rakhal avoided Noren, and Noren would not speak to Rakhal. Sri Ramakrishna noticed this, and when he learned the reason for quarrel, he talked affectionately to Noren and made him realize that Rakhal was not responsible for the change in his attitude towards images, but after that, the boys became friends again. One day, Sri Ramakrishna said to Rakhal, I cannot look at you. I see a veil of ignorance over your face. Tell me, have you done anything wrong? Rakhal was greatly troubled. No matter how hard he tried, he could not remember having done anything wrong. Try to recall, Sri Ramakrishna said to his disciple, if you have told any untruth. Rakhal at once remembered that and admitted that he had recently told a lie in a joking way to a friend. Sri Ramakrishna forgave him and said, never do it again. To speak exact truth always is the most important spiritual discipline. Sri Ramakrishna fell ill and was removed to the Kashipur garden house. Rakhal accompanied him. One after another, several of the young disciples went to live there and look after the master. It was during the last illness that Sri Ramakrishna established his monastic order and fired his young disciples with the ideal of renunciation. He began to train each one individually according to his character and temperament. To the same, he gave the Gerua cloth which symbolizes the life of renunciation. Noren and Rakhal were among those chosen few. The master was undoubtedly very sick, but he still remained the source and center of a strong spiritual current which transformed the life and character of those around him. Kashipur garden house became a place of bliss, and the disciples' hearts overflowed with joy in God. It was during this period that Sri Ramakrishna prepared Narendranath to deliver his message to mankind. He taught him how to train the young disciples and organize the monastic order. Every day he would talk to Noren for hours together. In the course of the conversation, he told him Rakhal has the keen intelligence of a king. If he chooses, he could rule a kingdom. Taking the hint and understanding the master wanted Rakhal to be their leader, Noren lost no time in bringing this about. One day, when all young disciples were seated together, Noren spoke of Rakhal's greatness and announced, from today we shall call Rakhal our king. The others gladly agreed, knowing the special love which the master had for Rakhal. Thus, from that day, they called him Raja, the king. Later on, both disciples and devotees began to call him Raja Maharaj. Sri Ramakrishna once said, when the lotus blooms, bees come on their own accord to gather the honey. When the lotus of the man's heart blossoms in joy of God, spiritual aspirants will swarm to him. Many times we have watched Maharaj sitting among a crowd of devotees. One moment he would be happy and playful as a child. Then suddenly his mind would somehow indrawn and the whole atmosphere will vibrate with the presence of God. At such time, those who had come to visit him would find that all their doubts and problems has been solved. Revered Swami Jyotishananda Maharaj's descriptions of his initiation, the day Maharaj was to initiate me, I felt a spiritual power. Tangibly emanating from him. After the initiation, I bowed down to him. He raised his hand in a benediction about my head, giving me instantly a vivid consciousness of an immanent presence. I realized that the whole universe was merged in his presence. That day also, I got a glimpse of the divine nature and the power of the Guru. I was literally transported into a new life, and the power that he transmitted to me that day is still working with me. Girish Chandra Ghosh, the famous Bengali dramatist who became a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, tells the following story about Brahmananda's extraordinary power. Compared to myself, Rakhal is only a young lad. I know that Sri Ramakrishna regarding him as his spiritual son, but that is not the only reason why I feel such a deep reverence for him. Once, while I was seriously in, I found that I had lost my faith in Sri Ramakrishna. My heart felt dry. Many of the brother disciples came to see me, and I told them about the unhappy state of my mind. But they only kept silent. Then one day Rakhal came. He asked me how I felt. I described the dryness and lack of devotion from which I was suffering. Rakhal listened attentively. Then he laughed aloud. Why you worry about it? He asked me. The waves of the ocean rise high, then he goes down again, and again they rise. Mind is like that. But please do not be troubled. Your present mood is due to the fact that you are about to rise to a much higher level of spirituality. The wave of the mind is gathering strength. When he left, all the dryness in my heart had gone, my faith had returned, and my mind rose to a higher level than ever before. I conclude with the following stories will give a glimpse of Raja Maharaj's sense of fun and also of deep love he had towards the brother disciples. One story is told by Swami Sat Prakashananda. One afternoon, Maharaj was seated on the large bench on the ground floor veranda of mud building facing the Ganges. The old mud building provided the only residential quarter of Belur Monastery at that time. I was standing very close to Maharaj. Presently at that time, I was tying a young man who had come to the monastery to spend a vacation in the company of holy man, approached Maharaj to take leave of him. His holiday was over and he was about to return to his home. Maharaj had noticed that during his stay, the young man had been particularly devoted to Swami Premananda, who was the center of attraction of many ardent visitors in those days. With his characteristic sense of humor, Maharaj took the opportunity to have a little fun at the expense of the brother disciple, Swami Premananda. Have you taken leave of Swami Premananda? He asked as the young man bowed down before him. No, Maharaj, not yet. He replied, I am going to take leave of him now. Well, when you bow down to him, you should say Pranam mantra, salutation mantra. Perhaps you do not know this mantra, I shall teach you. So saying, Maharaj began to recite a Bengali couplet which he improvised as he went along. Freely translated, it ran something like this. My mind is reluctant to go home. It is my heart's keen desire to lie down forever at those blessed feet. Then Maharaj instructed how to act while saying this mantra. He told him, at first stand before Swami Premananda with hands folded in great veneration and repeat the couplet until he came to the line to lie down forever at those blessed feet. When he was to direct his still folded hands towards the Swami's feet, he then dived down. The young man turned to go. As he left, Maharaj told him to go and watch. I followed the youth and saw him standing before Premananda with folded hands as Maharaj had instructed him, but he was silent. However, as he bowed down, Swamiji noticed that he was murmuring something and asking, what is this? What are you saying? Speak out, my boy. But the boy remained silent, and then I laughed. Hearing me laugh, Swami Premananda turned to me and said, you know what is he saying? Surely, please tell me. And then I told him the whole story of the Pranam mantra, and when I had finished, there was a roar of laughter. The other story tells of an affectionate trick Maharaj played on the brother disciple Swami Akhandananda. Swamiji had been staying with Maharaj for some considerable time when he decided he would like to return to his own ashram. Maharaj begged him to stay a little while longer, but the Swamiji persisted. Seeing the evident determination to go, Maharaj engaged a palanquin to take the Swami to the railway station, which was several miles away. The train was due to the early morning, which meant the Swamiji had to leave late at night. Before the bearers set out, the Swami Akhandananda Maharaj whispered something to them. It was dark when they left, so the Swamiji settled down behind the curtains of the palanquin. Every once in a while, the bearers would stop, and the Swami would anxiously inquire why they were stopping. For each time they assured him that they were stopping merely to rest, to have a smoke, but that there was no need for anxiety. He would arrive at the destination in plenty of time. After several hours of arduous travel, the bearers finally stopped at the last time and asked Swami Akhandananda to alight. Just as he was about to get out the palanquin, he saw Raja Maharaj standing before him, greeting him as though he had just arrived after a long absence. When Swami realized that he had been carried away around the compound all night, he roared with laughter. Maharaj embraced him and they both laughed like children. I extend my love and best wishes to all, my love to all the sadhus and brahmacharis and staff of this ashram. On this auspicious day, he be our prayer to Sri Sri Thakur to give us strength and faith by which we can place our devotion to his lotus feet. Jai Thakur, Jai Ma.
Our devoted pranams to Most Revered Maharaj for kindly delivering the benedictory address in which he quoted few incidents and teachings of Raja Maharaj. Our humble pranams to Most Revered Maharaj.